All right, ladies, welcome. So there's still a whole bunch of people coming in, so I'm going to get started. And this conversation is about time. Like I mentioned, grab pen and paper. I like to get you thinking. I always like to get you doing the work because everything that I say is not going to be a one size fits all. And I like to preface everything that I do with you are the master of your life. You are the driver. You are like the life force energy. And I'm just here to be a guide and to co-create with you. I'm also going to mute all. I'm here to co-create with you. I'm here to give you tips, tricks, strategies, perspective, and get you thinking differently. Now, the thinking and the doing is where the challenge always lies. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about that as well when it's around becoming emotionally uncomfortable and the integration of the doing. So there's two types of people on this call. We have current clients, and then we have people that are new to my space and my world. So this may be the first conversation that you've heard me speak. If it is, welcome, welcome. And instead of me going back into my story and all of that, I really encourage you to either read the book, Dying to Be a Good Mother. You can listen to it on Audibles, or go listen to the podcast, Emotionally Uncomfortable. Because my whole thing about time, and now I'll put down my precious slide. My whole thing about time is really about, we have one life. And although we think we want more money or we want like the accolades and the doing and the goals, what we actually want is a feeling. And it doesn't matter if you are like what your personal or professional situation looks like. Time is one of those resources that we are constantly going to have to refine. It's like you got to look at it, you have to see where we are investing it. And there's the strategic side of that. And there is also the emotional side of that. And so, for those of you who have been in my world for a while, I will gently remind you to go constantly rewatch or re-listen to module, I believe it's 4, correct? Energetic time management, I believe, is module 4. And that is more of the doing of what I call ETM, energetic time management, managing the energy, not time. That is the strategy behind it of like step by step by step by step. So when you come to these conversations, it's really about like getting out of your head into your body, into your soul, and also asking yourself what's working and what is not working. And you will hear the same thing over and over and over again. And then one day it just clicks. So I really invite all of you to take the pressure off of yourself to be like, I'm not doing this properly, or I'm messing this up. Just know that we're humans, and being human is a practice, and so is managing time. So, how to become time rich? Rich is a feeling. So, I would love to know in the chat whether it's a strategy issue or whether it's an emotional issue, what is your question? What brought you to this exact conversation today? How to blah. This, like, what is the pain point that you are currently experiencing when it comes to time? Whether you say to yourself, I know what she's going to say to me, that's okay. And I love the compliment of my slides. I love this. Everyone's so proud of me. I hate slides. So I had some professionally created. So you got 1 slide out of me. I do have 3 more towards the end. Okay. What is your challenge with time currently? Managing it all, kids, work, business, social, got it. How to stop falling back into old, comfortable, unwanted habits, finding joy, how to become more fulfilled. Awesome. Okay. Great, great, great. Managing it, guilt for taking time for myself. Right. So we have guilt, right? We have management going into summer while kids are home. Awesome. When people don't help out, perfect. So I'm just going to point out the pink elephant in the room that most of these are not actual time issues. Is anyone aware of that? Right? This is not a time issue. This is a leadership issue. And so what I'm going to, again, for those of you, actually, I'm just going to put this here right now. So these are for non-clients, okay? So if you were a client, do not do this. So this is something that we just started doing. You can do the call with me or you can do it with somebody on my team. So we're calling it a time audit. And my team has been doing these and we're getting amazing, amazing feedback, but you can do it with me as well. And both options are on this page. But if you were live on this conversation, you can do the time audit with someone on my team for $97. It's normally $197. So you just have to register during this conversation. As soon as this call is done live, it goes back up to $197. So I really encourage you to do that. The reason why I'm telling you that is because time is a resource. Write that down. If every 60 seconds of your life is worth $1 million, would you invest it differently? Write that down. 60 seconds equals $1 million. If you don't take, like, you could literally hop off now. If you do not take anything away from today's conversation, I want you to just slowly brainwash yourself with that thought. Put it on a sticky note, write it, on an image and put that on your phone, put it somewhere. 60 seconds equals $1 million. Because when you start to value time as much as you value money, and I know money is a whole other conversation, you will respect your time, AKA you will respect your life differently. When you begin to respect your life differently, you energetically show up differently. You lead differently. So I want you to think about, and I'm going to ask you to actually write this down. What is not working? We're going to make a list. What is not working? So people will say, managing it all, kids, da da da. I just want you to think, we're recording this in June. The next 90-ish days, 3 months, June, July, August. We're already halfway through June. Okay. So this is the logical, strategic side of my brain that comes out to play once in a while. What is not working? I'm going to give you 2 minutes and you're just going to brain dump what's not working. These are the things that stress you out. Kids being home. What am I going to do with them during the day? Kids' schedules, having time to work on my business, not in my business. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I'll be quiet. And I would love for you to just brain dump some things and maybe chat one in the chat, especially for current clients and mentors. I want to know what's not working, what feels overwhelming, what feels out of your control, what feels like you don't, Jessica, someone's in the waiting room, what feels out of control, like you do not know how to create space for it. How to pick one thing to work on instead of dabbling into multiple tasks. Yes. Guilt with how much time I spend starting over and how much can I take for myself, husband. Yes. So I want you to think about like the stories you're telling yourself about time, right? Time is, it doesn't even exist. Like it's not an actual dollar bill, right? And it's when we're sitting down and we're like, okay, I've created 20 minutes to do this thing. It's all of the noise that's in our mind to do the thing. This is where energy management comes in. This is where we have to get super crystal clear on how we want to feel in our everyday life. So now that we have what's not working, okay, I want you to think about allocation. So if you have I don't like the word budget. I'm a rebel and I like to live my life. So if someone puts me on a budget, it feels restrictive, like a financial budget feels restrictive. I like to work with people and learn skills about spending allocations, right? Like what is it that my soul is craving in the sense of where do I personally want to invest my time? Most of your questions aren't even about you. Most of your questions of how you're allocating time or what you're needing to do is for everybody else. It's not even you. my husband, my kids, my job, everybody else. So most of it, the questions that we're asking are like, how do I make time for everybody else? How do I give my time away to everybody else? But the reality is, if time equals $1 million, 60 seconds equals $1 million, how do I want to invest it? So, number one, we know how we don't, what's not working. Okay. So, number one, you wrote your list of what is not working. You just dumped it out. Where you feel restrictive, where you feel at capacity, where you feel like you don't have enough of time to allocate for this. Okay. So, now, number two, you're going to write out and I'm going to do a little teachable, and then I'd like to do hot seats with people. And I'm coming for you, mentors. So, number two is, how do you want to feel in your day? How do you want to feel in your day? What is the actual feeling? So, for me, right now, in this next season of my life, based on where I'm personally at today, I hear a lot of people say, I can't do much in the next 3 months because my children are going to be around. Well, my children are going to be around too. But if I spend too much time with my children, I'm going to be incredibly angry and resentful. If I neglect myself for too long, it's not going to be pretty for anybody. So, yeah, they're in my ecosystem, but I also want to feel alive and energized, and I want to thrive. I love adventure, but I also love moving my vision forward. And so I'm not necessarily neglecting any parts of myself, but I'm going to be putting more on my calendar that is important to me. I also want to make it very clear that I don't live and breathe my calendar where I'm like, okay, it's 12:02. Now I need to do this. Okay, now it's 1:05. I need to do this. My calendar is just there to remind my brain, my perimenopausal brain, that I am supposed to be focused on a task. And by the end of the day, I can look at that and go, what did I prioritize today? What did I actually make a priority? And how can I either finish some of these things that I didn't do or let them go completely? Now, there's a few other things I want to say here. I've been at this for over a decade. And oftentimes, when people start this process, what I hear is people say, but then I need to get it done and I need to do this, and my identity is attached to my to-do list and blah blah blah. These are all data. This is evidence of like where our internal is not matched up with our external. So number one, what is not working? There's somebody in the waiting room. Number two, how do you want to feel? Write that down. Energized, alive, focused, organized. Organized is not a feeling. Safe, secure, not a feeling. But it doesn't matter. Write down what you think you want to feel. Now, the go-to for people is typically say, I'm going to jam whatever I can in my schedule. I'm going to allocate every 60 seconds of my day to other people, other things, my to-do list. And then I'm going to wonder why I'm not feeling the way that I feel. Then I'm going to wonder why I'm depleted, I'm angry, resentful, overwhelmed, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to do some hot seats. So I want everybody to think about where they need to focus, what their focus is this summer, how they can allocate time. And I want to run this through the 60-minute, what I call profit rule. Okay. So for those of you who are familiar with the 10-minute habit, I don't really want to talk about that right now. My 60-minute profit rule, and profit is time, money, and energy. So for those of you who may not be in business, or you're like, I don't need to focus on revenue generating activities, that's fine. But profit to me is extra. Okay. Time flexibility, energy freedom. There's 4 types of energy: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. So my mental energy is like the stories and the chaos in my mind. My emotional is how I energetically feel. My physical is like my actual physical body, like my gut, my like muscles. And then spiritual to me is connection, how I spiritually feel connected to myself and my family. So to me, relationships, like my intimacy relationships, is more of like a spiritual connection or emotional connection of how I can feel connected to other humans. So now we're going to go through our 60-minute profit rule. So I want everybody to write down 20 minutes times 3. That's it. Keep it simple. Now, from a physical standpoint, you can either allocate, and you're going to overcomplicate this. I can already predict the future. You can allocate profit rule on your calendar and put it at 6 a.m. every morning. Profit rule, 60 minutes. And then 6 a.m. comes around, and that was probably the worst time you could do a profit rule. And you're trying to jam it in there. And you're like, I'm never getting this done. Well, guess what? You are grown ass women with discernment and critical thinking skills, and you're going to put on your problem solving hat. And you're like, try that for a few days. That's not working. So I may have to allocate it somewhere else. If you have a lot of resistance to the actual task, you are going to break that hour into 3 20-minute action steps. And so those 20-minute action steps, the first one might be at 10 a.m., the second one might be at 1 p.m., and the third one might be at 6 p.m. Now, if you were like me and you're like, don't tell me what to do, 10 a.m. rolls around and I'm like, I don't want to do my 20-minute task here. Great. The goal is that you are to get your profit rule complete by the end of the day. So if you are the type of person that is like, no, I'm just going to neglect all these tasks, then you're going to be up at 11 o'clock at night and you are going to be like, I promised myself and I have the accountability, or I'm going to get the accountability to complete my profit rule every single day before I go to bed. So you may, because remember, you're going from point A to point B. So you are trying to allocate you're trying to change your identity. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you go from somebody who's like, I just give to everybody else and I don't have any time for me, that is like a martyr victim energy. And you do feel at capacity, and that's okay. That's how your brain is currently wired. So it's going to take time and it's going to take emotional discomfort to start putting certain things on your calendar. So my identity today is that I have a profit rule. I put this on my calendar and I get it done 100% of the time. When I started, oh my God, it was like, it was not pretty. Anytime I also change my profit rule, like when I'm changing the tasks and I'm trying to do something that I find very uncomfortable, I have a lot of resistance around it. I know the name of the game is to feel the resistance, which is why it's only a 20-minute task. So a perfect example of that is if I'm trying to develop the habit of walking every day or walking every night and I'm not used to it, I'm going to resist it. And then all of it, like with consistency, your brain starts to pick up on it and your body's like, hey, let's get walking. So the first time I decide to walk for 20 minutes, I'm like, I don't have time for this. I can't do it. Like your brain, like it gets very, very loud inside. Right. Anyways, my point of this is it's okay to be uncomfortable. Who would like to be on a hot seat, a love seat? Let's call it a love seat. So a mentor or a current client preferred. If possible, you are welcome to just post in the chat because you probably can't unmute yourself, or put your little hand up, a little hand emoji. I see there's going to be so many volunteers.
Sounds like it might be time to just pick somebody.
Yeah, Adriana.
Adriana might be tough because she's in the classroom.
I
Is
feel
she
like
nodding because it's...
You can use me. I don't have anybody here,
I was just going to
unfortunately.
say, I don't get the vibe that she's going to have anybody in her classroom. Okay, go ahead. So I would like to know we're going to create a summer profit rule for you. So I would like to know your focus. You've also been in my world for a while, so you've had a lot of identity shifts. So let's focus on your next level vision. So what are your goals, personal or professional?
My professional goals would be in my second business. So I'm a teacher full time, and then I'm doing online fitness and nutrition coaching. So I really feel like this summer I need to hone in on my process, and like I really want to create a program guide for my clients,
Mm-hmm.
like something all in one instead of sending like bits and pieces of information. And then I want to work on what a group coaching program looks like, because right now everything is one-on-one. And so if I want to expand and it's just me, what does that look like? And can I do that?
Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to call that as a goal, like process / group experience, but goal wise, it's scaling your time, right? And saving you time and energy,
Right.
like processes and systems and cleaning it up. So
Mhm.
20 minutes a day. Okay, sorry, I'm talking out loud. What other goals or focus do you have? Just jump.
I don't know, I guess just continued exposure, right? So reaching out, I have like another podcast scheduled in the fall, but sort of using my current clients for outreach, um, and looking for more referrals. So the people that I'm working with are seeing the results. So how can we take that and scream it from the mountaintops?
Perfect. Okay. And give me one personal next level goal or focus you have for the next 90 days ish. That's not related to business.
Ooh, I have a photo shoot in July. Does that count?
Yeah. So you probably have to like tap into that, like
Yeah.
refine.
Yes, yes. Refine my own behaviors.
So you have like a physical goal, which is
Mhm.
not really physical. It's like who you need to
Mental.
become
Yes.
in order to do that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
So the physical is a photo shoot, and the physical is like the external, sorry, is a photo shoot, but it's
Mhm.
also like magic wand, regardless of the process, marketing or sales. What's the goal of all of this? Making more money?
Yes, yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes.
So you were clear where you need to focus in your business because we have this conversation all the time and you are very aware of like the cold, warm, hot strategy and the sales process. So
Mhm.
that's like another conversation for the actual skill that's required. So you already have that. So when it comes to 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and you think about, I put 4 stars. So process group experience to scale your time and energy so you can
Mhm.
provide exceptional service, the same exceptional service, but just bigger impact with more people.
Right. Mhm.
Number 2 would be marketing, which is just being seen. And you know your cold, warm, hot strategy because we've talked about that. And then
Sorry, hold on.
3, pardon?
The lights go out if nobody moves in the room.
Oh, so
So
then you have to move. You're like, boop, boop. Okay. And then sales, which is receiving money, right? Following up with
Mhm.
leads. And then number 4 is prepping for your photo shoot. So if you only have an hour a day, I said
Yeah.
this to somebody yesterday. If you only have an hour a day working on your next level vision, that does not include all your meetings, all the conversations you're having, all the other things you're doing. You have 1 hour a day, 3 20-minute tasks. What is the highest leveraged action that you are going to take based on those 4 focus for the summer?
So I'm going to take 20 minutes and work on my process.
Mm-hmm.
So that just involves like the whole client experience, the program guide, so just chipping away at it.
Yep.
Because it seems very big, but in reality, it's not once I start doing it.
Mhm.
So the photo shoot is the middle of July, so it's like 60 days away, I guess, or 30
Mhm.
days away.
Mhm.
So I need to take time every day to plan my meals ahead of time and make sure that I'm getting in what I need to get in.
Mhm.
So that's what happens every day. And then 20 minutes of some sort of marketing. So it could be focusing on cold leads. So people who are maybe just coming in to my community or who are starting to follow me on Instagram, right? Just super cold, client leads, and then people who I have to follow up with who have
Perfect.
inquired about coaching and aren't ready.
Okay. So I'm going to say your 60-minute profit rule for the summer is 20 minutes of looking at that process, right? Your client process, onboarding to execution. The 20 minutes of planning your meals and 20 minutes of actually cold marketing and
Okay.
sales follow up. So it could even
Okay.
be 10 minutes and 10 minutes. That is
Okay.
60 minutes a day. So obviously, Adriana, one day you might be reaching out to 2 people for your cold marketing strategy, right? And then you're like, okay, I'm done for the day. I did my 20 minutes. Obviously, anything else is icing on the cake. The next day, so you did that today. You're like, okay, did my 20 minutes of cold outreach, invited, opened, had 3 new conversations or kind of planted myself in 3 people's inboxes or whatever. The next day, you're like, okay, I'm done. Minimum. That's all I did for the day. The next day, you're like, okay, now I'm going to do 3 follow ups. 20 minutes is done. And the point of this is at minimum. So I'm trying to help people get out of this all or nothing mindset because that's where you actually see sustainable results. You are all very ambitious, busy women. Now, Adriana, how much resistance, in all honesty, are you going to have around that 20 minutes of the process and group experience?
I don't think I have I don't know. Let's just say 60% resistance.
I would say out of all 3 of those tasks, that may be number 1. Marketing and sales might be number 2. I feel like the meal prep is going to be
Yeah.
like a no-brainer or like a little awareness, but not a lot of
Right.
resistance around.
Yeah.
So the whole point here is self-awareness. Have 1 hour a day where you are focused on your bigger vision. And if you need to do it in 1 hour, great. You get it out of you do it before the kids wake up. Or you're doing it while you're walking, or you're doing it while you're sitting by the pool with the kids. 20 minutes, that's it. So this is the integrated life, right? And for you specifically, yes, I know someone was going to say I struggle with stopping at 20 minutes. For you specifically, this is where the blocks come up, and this is why the additional support is needed when you're like, hey, I did this. Can you look at my process? Like, can you look at the 20 minutes that I did today? Right. And then you're co-creating with people, you get it done so much quicker. So at minimum, for everyone listening to this, in the summer or the next 90 days, you are committing to your profit rule. For Adriana, it is a desire for more to grow the business. Now's actually the time where, because of her day job, now's the time where she actually doubles down on her business to grow it. But you're not working 8 hours a day to grow your business. You're like, at minimum, it's an hour plus a day. Like, you're not doing this as a full-time job. You
Yeah,
can,
100%.
yeah. And I'm trying to tell people it's so much easier to just chip away every single day than this all or nothing mentality of I need to like spend all day Saturday from sunrise to sunset and, neglect my needs to be all in on a focus. Now, for those of
Yeah,
you, go ahead.
sorry. I just like this, it's so simple and it makes me laugh every time we have this conversation because it's like, oh, it's all I got to do. Whereas if you don't think about it in this way, it's like, oh my God, I have to do this, create this huge manual when I'm going to do it. And it's like, okay, I have all day Sunday to do it, but that's overwhelming and boring and I don't have that attention span anymore. So it's like, this is attackable in the easiest way possible, because then I can still enjoy the kids during the summer. I could still have fun by the pool and cold DM some people, right? So it's not like it has to be at a desk in an office, closed door, done.
Yeah. And I'm talking about at minimum, right? I am not talking about like when someone says, I struggle to stop at 20 minutes when I feel like everything needs to be 10x that. 100%. That's the ambitious go-getter. And like, if you, again, little tips, strategies that I'm talking about, but if you don't take anything away from what I say, one of the biggest life lessons that I had, and this was when I was going through treatment, like for cancer over a decade ago, and I was in the gym and I did one-on-one personal training, and the personal trainer looked me dead square in the eyes and he said, I just need you to show up 60, 70% today. I wasn't like there, like I was like all in. He's like, you're gonna burn out. You need to show up like 70%. And my brain was blown. He's like, if you want to see results, you need to hear me when I tell you that you actually need to not put in 100%. Because what's the messages that we hear, right? Give it your all, like be all in. And the reality is, if you actually want to be all in on something, my perspective is to be all in for 60 minutes a day, 7 days a week. That is all in. And to me, all in is being 100% present wherever your feet are. And if you're struggling to understand what actions you need to take based on where you want to go, like you might be like, I don't even know what my vision is. I don't even know what I want. Yeah, there's a process for that. You have to go through a process to get to the point where Adriana is so that she understands that, which is what I highly, highly recommend. If for those of you who are feeling stuck, then book a time audit. The link is right there. Just go to more time. I didn't post it properly. You just go to more heatherchauvin.com/more time so that we can break down this process for you and show you what's your vision, where do you need to focus, and how can you do it in 3 20-minute action steps a day. Whether it is allowing your soul to come alive, whether it's creating connection with your kids this summer, like all 3 of your profit rules may or may not revolve around one relationship. It may revolve around just feeling alive and energized. It may revolve around making more money. It may revolve around like actually managing your time. It may revolve around your food. It may revolve around your mental and emotional health. So you get to choose based on your next level vision. Do I actually get to tap into 3 different parts of my life, or even is that too overwhelming? But if you are not clear on what you want, and these are even for people who are like, damn, Heather, how many times do you need to say this to me? But I tell people all the time, what's your wouldn't it be nice list? You have your wouldn't it be nice list. This is my little planner. My wouldn't it be nice list is at the back of my planner. Like I have my bullet points at the back of here of my planner. And I spend, one of my profit rules is spending and looking at my like allocating my time, right? 20 minutes, 60, so $20 million, 60 seconds equals $1 million. I look at this and I spend 20 minutes a day looking at my vision. Why do I do that? Why would I spend 20 minutes a day looking at where I'm headed? Because if I don't spend 20 minutes a day looking at my vision, I'm living in the present or the past. And what I mean by that is, yes, you can be living in the present moment, but if I'm living in the present or living in the past, I'm literally going to be living in a survival state. And if you are chronically living in a state of survival, you will never move up to momentum or a thrival state. So people will say to me, I don't have enough time. Time richness is a feeling. You do not need to change your career right away. You do not need to blow things up in your life. If you're shifting how you view time, you will spend it differently. And I guarantee you, I could find you 20 minutes right now so that you can focus on your future vision. And if you don't know what the future vision is, then that is what you're doing on day one of spending 20 minutes thinking about your future. So I already have my list, but day one of thinking about my next level vision was actually sitting down and writing my wouldn't it be nice list. And to be honest, I could do that for 20 minutes a day for a whole week. And I could refine that list and I could sit with that list. And then once I have the list, I could go to the next level with that 20 minutes, which is what do I need to do next to do that? And so I might look at the vision and go, okay, now I need to have an uncomfortable conversation with my husband. Now I need to have an uncomfortable conversation with my team. Now I need to put something else on my calendar that's going to make me uncomfortable. So you chip away, you chip away, you chip away. But when you have a belief or a story that 20 minutes is not going to make an impact, you will always self-sabotage and like just be like all or nothing, all or nothing. And so most of this is an identity shift. This is and a leadership perspective. This is not about you not having time. I'm going to say that again. Most of this is not, I don't even remember what I said. Most of this is not about time. This is about how you lead and utilize time. Also, in this experience, in this conversation, in my experience, is you're starting to raise your standard for how you allocate and invest your time. How many of you have ever showed up to a meeting and the other person was not prepared for that conversation and you felt like you were wasting your time or they weren't present? Okay. And you became a little angry or resentful. So anger and resentment is a sign from your emotional body that says, this is out of alignment. You get to choose and lead. Do you stay in that meeting? We actually have a rule in our company that if somebody doesn't need to be on a call, they can leave. So example, we'll have a team meeting and instead of somebody sitting there for the whole hour to hear 10 minutes, which all they needed to be involved in, they stay, get it done for that 10 minutes, and then they're welcome to leave. Anything else is additional. So I'm always about like, what is the point of this meeting? Am I prepared for this meeting? And do I have everything that I need? And then I teach people how to treat me. So if I show up to a meeting, and this could be with a complete stranger, it does not even need to be with my team. And they say, oh my gosh, I actually did this morning to someone. Oh my gosh, I'm not prepared for this conversation. I'm like, that's no problem. Let's reschedule. No, we'll do it right now. No, I can see you're not prepared. That's okay. We'll reschedule. And I leave the meeting to buy back my time and energy. Now, if that person, I get to choose, do I actually want to reschedule with that person? Or did they show me who they are and I need to believe them? This morning I did it because I had a podcast interview where I was being interviewed on somebody else's podcast. And in my perspective, she was scheduling it way too long. And she not only wanted me to do a podcast, she wanted me to do a like this other conversation like thing. And it was like an hour and a half. And I was like, I'll give you 45 minutes of my life. And she did not like that I had boundaries around my time. And I said, I can get a lot done in 45 minutes. Like we will get to the point in 45 minutes. I've done this a bajillion times. I said, you get 45 minutes of my time for free. Would you like it or not? I was not that blunt, but my point is I looked at my calendar and I bought back my time. And I said, I have a hard stop at this time. She respected that. If I didn't look at my calendar and communicate that to her in a kind, loving way that was in alignment with how I wanted to feel, I would have been angry and resentful on that conversation. So this is how you lead these conversations. So the actual challenge here is not that you don't have time in this situation, is not that you don't have time, it's that you're very uncomfortable having uncomfortable conversations with other people. You don't know how to communicate your need, and you just kind of shrink, and you're kind of like, okay, I'm just not going to say anything. I actually had, I was watching, of course, I get all my, data off the internet. It was like a reel or an interview that somebody was doing on Instagram. And she was talking about her work, and her boss was a man. And she was talking about how she was getting incredibly stressed out, and he just kept giving her more and more and more work. And finally, she said to him, after 18 months of being in that position, I need to have a conversation with you. I am at capacity. You constantly are giving me more and more and more to do, and I can't do this. And he said, wow, it only took you 18 months to have this conversation with me. I've been doing this intentionally to see how long it took you to use your voice and communicate to me. Now, regardless of how you feel about this strategy, what is the point here? She was coming from a very positive experience that she said that was a great lesson for me to learn. Not saying that it was a toxic environment by any means, but somebody was pushing her boundary and she was allowing it until she said, I am at capacity. I am experiencing so much contrast. This is not working for me. Imagine you communicated that week one and said, hey, I am so excited to be on your team. You could sit with the vulnerability of like, oh my God, using my voice might actually get me fired. I know how we can be more productive and we can do less better here. How can we co-create and work together? Obviously, I'm making this up on the spot. My point is, if you let people push your boundaries and not honor your boundaries, if you state a boundary but you don't honor the boundary, people will push over it, aka children will be the number one to do that. Screen time, summertime, I'm watching a boundary that I am pushing in my home energetically, or I'm holding this summer, and it makes me so emotionally uncomfortable. So when it comes to time, when it comes to energy, when it comes to feeling time rich, there are multiple things that you need to master in order to feel alive and aligned. And wasting time acquiring information without taking action on things is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again. All right. Would love to hear from somebody else if you want a hot seat or a love seat. Sasha, I know I like to pick on you, but I actually did a time audit with you yesterday. She was prepared for this. She's always on guard. You may have to unmute, but you probably can't unmute because I'm going to allow you to unmute. Go ahead.
I was going to say it wouldn't let me unmute. But yes, I'm always ready for the things that I shouldn't say always ready, but anyway.
I do it with love and kindness. So, okay, time richness. So this is number one, an outsider perspective. So I did a time audit with you yesterday, headed into summer. You have 4 children, 85 chickens, horses, lots of responsibility on your plate. And from an outsider perspective, what was your takeaway of where you could become more time rich? Like 2 or 3 takeaways.
2 or 3 takeaways one of the things is I'm saying yes to things that I don't really want to say yes to. That was one thing. And then I'm like angry and resentful for that. The second thing was finding support to help me with the kids over the summer, because this is the last day of school, this is the last day of daycare, this is the last day of all the things. And while I feel like part of me thinks I could be a really great stay-at-home mom, I know that I need to do other things too to fulfill myself. So I'm like, how can I get support through the summer? So I actually have two people that are coming to interview this week to help me with like part-time childcare over the summer. There was a little bit of guilt that came up with that. Like I should be hanging out with my kids, but at the same time, I'm like, if I hang out with them 24/7, I am not a nice person. So
Mm-hmm.
doing it for the kids. Those are probably the two big things. And then the other thing is like, how can I shift my time, my energy, my focus on more of the like if we're going back to the $1 million a minute type of thing, like what are the highest leverage action steps that I can take to get the most ROI instead of like busying myself with, checking off easy boxes on the to-do list. It's like do the big thing and then delegate the easy things that like anybody can do.
Love it. Okay. So there's so many gems in there. Number one, you're never done this process. It's always a refine. Number two, it is a friendly reminder of the importance of having a non-emotional perspective, because when we are in it, when we're in our businesses, when we're in our lives, when we are in our poo-poo or shit, all the things, we're so emotional about it, right? So a lot of what Sasha was saying is like, I should, the guilt, the anger, the resentment, and then also when you are living in a survival state. So when people say to me, I'm just living day to day, I'm just going to mute you, Sasha. Oh crap. I just unmuted, you just muted yourself and I unmuted someone at the same time. Anyways, when you're living in a survival state, you're just like, I'm just getting through the day. You're actually not using the part of your brain that like the critical thinking skills or the problem solving skills. So I'm always thinking, like I will not respond to requests and go, how can I buy back my time and energy here? Like someone will say, can we jump on a quick chat? And I'm like, I could talk to this person while I'm walking, but do I want to? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And I'll just make a request and say, can we just chat back and forth here for a quick minute? And then if we need to jump on a call, I'm more primed and ready of how I could even just be of higher service to you when we are spending that 10 or 20 minutes together. So you, as the human, need to stop and slow down just for a minute. I am not telling people to do less. I am not telling people to rest, like in the sense of do nothing. I actually think that can be very detrimental to somebody's health and well-being. When I see a woman on the verge of burnout or overwhelm, and she's like, yeah, my therapist, my doctor, my friends, my blah, 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 they're telling me to do less. I'm like, who's paying your bills? Who's feeding your children? Who's doing the things? I'm like, sometimes like you have responsibilities that need to get done. So we need to figure out how you use your profit rule every day at minimum to go after what you need, but also feeding your soul and like fulfilling that part of yourself. So it's not about do less, relax. You're like, yeah, and I'm having panic attacks at night because I still got bills to pay and I have a lot of responsibility. So you got to be able to feed both parts of yourself. Now, I want to talk briefly about like some of the stuff that comes up when people are like, yeah, but I don't want to stop, or I have a neurodiverse brain, or blah, blah, blah. I will tell you over and over and over again that the story you're telling yourself is a belief. And sometimes you have to be very tricky and intuitive around this. In the sense, if someone asks me to do something that is not currently in my identity or my way of being or my habits, and it could take me 10 minutes, I could have immense resistance around that, right? Think about doing a plank at the gym versus walking on the treadmill. Which one has more physical resistance around it? You're like, that was only 30 seconds. That felt like 10 minutes of my life or an hour. My point is, it's not actual time issue. It's your emotional discomfort. And the only way out is through. I have helped people buy back their lives emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, relationships. And they come to me and say, I need more time. I need to change my career. I need to do this. I need to do this. And I'm like, listen, this is exactly where you need to focus now. But the only thing that is going to get in your way is your tolerance to feel your feelings. That's it. I actually think women are better at time management than the other gender because our brain can multitask. Okay. So your brain can multitask. You are a powerhouse. Like you are like a fire hose. But I'm telling you right now, if that fire hose is not directed in the direction of your goals, your dreams, your desires, you will burn out quicker. You will literally go bankrupt. If it's not directed, it's going to go all over the place, and you are not going to be directing that fire hose in the direction of your soul desire. And you're going to be watering down other fires that are not even on fire. Does that make sense? That was the weird analogy that came out. So my point is, if you do not know how to harness your energy, your mental, your physical, your emotional, spiritual, in the direction that you crave, if you do not know how to master your resistance, your fear, your guilt, your overwhelm, you will live your life for everybody else. And one day you will wake up and say, who am I? How did I get here? And I'm out. Like I just had somebody the other day. It's like, I'm out. And I said, how did you get here? She's like, I neglected myself for far too long. She's like, the trust is broken. I'm out of her. It was her business. And I said, what are you going to do? She's like, I don't know. And I'm like, imagine 5 years ago, you would have just said, this is not sustainable for me. I got to figure out another way. She wouldn't blow things up. She would try to repair. So my telling to you is 20 minutes a day can save your life. It can save relationships. It could save your bank account, save your soul. But you got to love yourself and respect yourself enough to commit to 20 minutes 3 times a day minimum. That's it. That's all you got to do. So I'm here for 5 more minutes to see if you have any other questions. You can unmute yourself if you want. Everyone is unmutable. For those of you who are not inside of the group already, you are welcome to book a time audit so that we can help you strategically. I know this is not in presentation format. So you can strategically focus those 90 minutes or 60 minutes this summer. So you know exactly where to focus. Do we have any questions? Sasha, I don't know if you see any in the chat or if there's any that's coming to mind that you think I should answer.
Questions would be what are some of the people get out of a time audit? I know you said we're going to clarify your goals, action steps, and roadmap, but like the few or the ones
You're the one that does them. So what's the feedback you're getting?
People love
People
them.
can do it with me too, the options on there. But yeah, when you're doing them, what's the feedback?
The feedback is they love the personalized approach and the personalized support. So I have been working with Heather since 2017. I've been in the online space for quite some time. So it's not just like you're going to come in and, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Like we dive real deep into the things that are holding you back. And so the couple that I had yesterday, the women were like, this has been the best session I have ever had. They said, even one of the gals was like, I got more value out of this call than I did in this entire 6-month career coaching program that she had done, type of thing. So they're not just like surface level. We dive really deep into specifically what's holding you back, and then also do some emotional check-ins. There's a lot of stuff that comes up. So I like to ask the hard questions, but it definitely brings a lot of clarity. You'll feel all the feels. There was one person I had a call with. She went from everywhere from angry to I thought she was going to hang up on me to crying, sad tears to crying happy tears at the end. And so she experienced all of the things, but I think it was a lot of stuff that she had suppressed. So it was nice to have that come up and out. And then she, had more clarity on what she was going to do going forward. So
this is what I want to say. And Sasha, Yeah. So if you were like the type of person and you need to make more money, we'll focus on that. If you're like, okay, my kids are here, like summer stresses me out with that. How do I manage this? We're going to focus on that. So time to me is the resource. How do we allocate and utilize that based on your specific dreams, goals, desires, situation? And then that's what the time audit is about, is helping you use that. For those of you who are inside of mastery or mastery business and you're like, I'm stuck on like this for myself, or like I'm getting in my own way again, send me a Voxer and we'll do it quickly. Or reach out to your mentor. Now, what I did want to say, and people are like, why do you tell people this? And I'm like, because I'm radically honest. There's 3 things that you cannot buy. And I tell people, if you are trying to buy these things, just don't. Like, release your goals. You cannot. I've tried. Trust me, I'm a recovering rescuer. You could pay somebody all the money in the world. If you don't actually want change and you are not driven for change, you cannot buy that. You can buy accountability, you can buy programs, you can buy like all the things. But if there's not that spark inside of you that's like, something needs to change, like, trust me, there are things that I do not want to do, and I will set myself up for success, but I know things need to change. So an example of that is, I don't love going to the gym, so I have a personal trainer to get me to the gym. So you have to understand that like the inner drive to change, you 100% need that in order to change. You don't need to be motivated. That's BS. Number 2 is action. You have to be willing to take action. If you're like, I'm never going to take action, I'm the type of person that doesn't take action, then this is not for you. Number 3 is your willingness to receive. And this is where things get really, really emotionally uncomfortable. Now, the reason why I'm telling you that is these are the 3 secrets. Okay. And for everyone listening, these are the 3 secrets that when you are ready for an up level in your life, you need to kick your own ass. You need to really look in the mirror and say, I need to stop busying myself to avoid what I actually want. Like, I can't tell you how many times I'm working with women and she's like, I want to make this amount of money in my business. And I'm like, then stop running away from the actions that you need to take. You just need to be able to master your resistance. And so action, I'm telling you right now, it's like, this is a life practice. If you can take tiny baby action steps every day and flex those muscles, not for 8 hours a day, you will see results so much quicker. And the ability to receive feedback and receive help. It is very uncomfortable for women to receive. It triggers our shame, it triggers our guilt, overwhelm. But this is why I think when I'm working with people, I cut right to the chase, because I'm like, you have one freaking life. Your kids are getting older. How many more summers do you have with them? How much more time do you have with people that you care about? And if your like literal life is so full and you can allocate a few 20-minute tasks in there, people will look at you and go, how do you get so much done? This is the damn secret, is doing the things that other people are not willing to do and have a very clear strategy on how to get there and a vision. So if you don't feel like you have that, you need support.